All right. So we will start with the first panel, and I'm super happy to be here with our good friends of Figment. So I'm Antoine. I'm in charge of business development at Zama. So the company holding this coffee for a week. And so super happy to have the guys from Figment, so Sthefano and Luke. Figment has been around for quite some time. It's a top firm in securing networks thanks to staking infrastructure. We'll get into that. And they are one of our first partners, node operators for the Zama protocol, so the Genesis partners. It wasn't that hard to pick up a good company in the staking industry. We knew Figment, so we were super happy to start working with you. But maybe can you start just by introducing each of you?
Absolutely. So thanks, Emma. Thanks, guys. Thanks for the attention. Thanks for being here. I'm Stefano. I'm the head of LATAM at Figment. Figment is one of the largest validators in the space. We hold $18 billion of assets under staking, more than 1,000 clients, and connected to more than 20 proof of stake protocols, and being part of the industry since 2018. We started our effort in LATAM this March, and we've been growing up, having a lot of meetings, onboarding a lot of clients now. Side of LATAM, it's really, really interesting. We've been seeing recent developments in regulatory updates on the Brazilian side. Has been like less than a week that we had a huge update in the Brazilian regulatory side. We're having a tremendous success on talking to banks and asset managers in their space. And yeah, pretty happy to be here and talk a little bit more about the Latin developed markets in crypto.
Awesome. Yeah. I think Sthefano gave a good overview on Figment in general, but I'm on the protocol team here and have a pretty wide range of things we work on, but main focus is just picking which of the many new networks that come out every year we end up supporting as a validator or otherwise.
Right. So, my first question is always like, when was Figment created? And you said 2019, like that 18. Okay, so even longer. And at that time, what was the strategy for Figment?
Yeah, I can take this one. I know a little bit of the history. This is before my time at the company. I've been at Figment for about a year and a half. But for a bit of background, our founders previously were in the data center industry. And so, they had been following crypto and heard about proof of stake. I think initially the plan was they wanted to, they're really focused on investing in proof of stake. But back then they were very, very early to this whole trend. And so, they kind of eventually arrived at the decision to say, like, if we want to have exposure to all these new networks that are coming out using proof of stake, we should just run the infrastructure. We have the capability to do that. And so that's kind of the origin story. And the rest is history.
So who were the first clients typically?
The first clients, I think, back then it was largely, investment funds, like venture teams and anyone holding, I think in the early days, a lot of it was Cosmos SDK based blockchains.
Okay. And has it changed? Like, who is it?
Not change, of course. So if a bunch of new people entering into the firm. But one thing that I found interesting on the Figment side is that part of the investors in the firm are also clients, like Tomo Bravo, 21 Shares. So they not only hash decks here in Brazil, Mercado Bitcoin, they're all clients, but they are also investors in the firm. So back in the day, back in 2018, 19, they saw the value of having a really institutionalized proof of stake, non-custodial service firm that could help them navigate the regulatory that at the time was not even there. But they already saw that the path to grow up, not only in LATAM, but in any place in the world, is to having a really good regulatory framework and a really good secure infrastructure that you can rely and you can prove to your clients, you can prove to your regulator, you can prove to your investors, you can prove to your workers at any of those clients' firms that you could trust a third party. Because it's pretty interesting to see that On the staking side, people normally saw the staking providers as a commodity, right? So they're all equal. I'm just going to follow and select the one with the more return. But with time, we could see that things start to become more and more complex, more and more dangerous to the point of the security side. So you have to have a really trusted partner to work with, and that's where I think most of our clients begin. Not only believing us as a provider, but also as a company in this space.
Yeah, see. And so obviously there were multiple phases, different phases in the past few years regarding the regulation. If we focus just on that, like from 2018 to 2021, and we say there was one phase, then FTX happened, bringing a new phase in terms of compliance, regulation, and then Trump. Like, how did what were the effects on Figment specifically? Like, what changed internally? How did you handle all these events?
Yeah, I mean, I think, definitely would want Sthefano's take here as well, but just one point of reference for us is as an infrastructure provider, I think we've always been sort of in a position where we're non-custodial and we're strictly providing like staking infra. And so, things have definitely improved in terms of the broader regulatory environment. And certainly that's beneficial for things like ETFs and whatnot. But in terms of the like day-to-day of how we're structuring, running infra and whatnot, I think to a large degree, not a lot changes. But on the sales side, I'm sure, there's probably more context to give there.
Yeah. For us as a firm, those events, good or bad, like FTX, just show to us that, hey, you have to have a reliable partner. Doesn't matter your reputation, doesn't matter how big you are, how important you are, how many faces you saw in the media, and if Tom Brady is doing something for you or not. But even those kind of firms can fail if they don't follow basic principles. That's what's happened with FTX. So since the beginning of Figment, and if you go through any of our websites, our documents, our offering, you're going to see a phrase that is repeated all the time, which is safety over liveness. So that's what drives the company. That's what drives most of our deals, most of our products. Sometimes you could look to, I don't know, if in a Fireblocks interface and look for us and compare us to our competitors. Not necessarily we're going to have the best yields. We're not going to have the best rewards. That's not because we can't. This is by design. Because there's some stuff that you can do on the staking world that can compromise your client safety. So since that we are in the crypto space and there's a lot of mistrust from the TradeFi into the crypto space, you have to play their game. You have to speak their language. So that's what we've been doing in bad times, in good times. And to your question, after, of course, Trump got elected last November, and I don't think it's just on the Trump side. I think it's more on the fact that the SEC in the US become more understandable of what crypto are and not necessarily, hey, this is a scam or something like that. And that regulatory update, we just saw the Genius Act through this year. We saw the SEC considering staking not a security, so which is a really good and important regulatory update. So the difference on the good and bad times is just how many deals we go through the process, but the mentality of security is the same.
Okay, so really your difference is to be really focused on security, risk management rather than yield at all costs, and especially when the cost is so high sometimes. Okay, and one question I wanted to ask you, because Luke, you are based in New York City. You, Sthefano, you're in Sao Paulo. How do you compare your two markets? If I like, you chase kind of the same use cases, but what's different between Sao Paulo or LATAM and crypto in New York City?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'll give the New York overview, and then I guess you can give Sthefano, and we can sort of shake out the differences from there. I think, one of the things that's big in New York is obviously the institutional side with Wall Street there and everything. But also, we were talking about this a little bit before we came on here. It's really the primary hub, at least in the United States, for crypto venture. Like almost all of the major, or I don't know the exact breakdown, but quite a few of the major venture firms, have some kind of a presence in the New York area. And so I think that market is, very just like U.S. institution focused, probably not a shocker. But yeah.
Yeah, from the LATAM side,
Hola.
I don't think we are on, of course, the same level of complexity and volume as a great center like the US or AU and APAC. But in terms of potential, there's tremendous potential in the region, right? So we're seeing not only from the regulatory side, but also on the user experience side. So if you go to Brazil, you have banks like Nubank, Itaú, Bradesco, and like TradeFi banks with more than 100 years. You could buy Bitcoin, hold Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and more than 50 coins on most of the Brazilian banks today, which it's crazy to see.
Yes.
So it's the same that you are in the United States and you open your Bank of America app and you can buy and hold Bitcoin. So the difference, I think, most on the US side, of course, the US has much more developed capital markets and much more money and flowing around to crypto. So the projects become more and more complex. But on the LATAM side, you have more adoption on the sense that this is not just speculative assets. People are not just buying Bitcoin for getting rich or buying Ethereum to getting rich.
In daily life?
Is the use case, right? So here in Argentina, is to protect against inflation.
Yep.
In Brazil, is to make payments and having a stable coin really important business so you can export your stuff from to other places. So I think the main difference between the two markets is that in the US is still a little bit linked to the speculative and I want to make money with crypto. And here in LATAM, it's getting more on the railroads of our economy.
Okay, so more retail focused and daily life oriented rather than capital markets.
Yeah, I think both have a retail interest at the US and in LATAM. But I think in LATAM, crypto is solving different problems than the US.
So, super. And so, as we are talking about stable coins, I've seen staking providers starting with proof of stake, yield generation for Polkadot, ETH, whatever. What about your strategy for yield management for stablecoins or other yield generation tools?
Yeah, I think this sort of plays into a little bit of the regulatory conversation you mentioned earlier. But I think we'll see, like you mentioned, we'll see a lot of staking providers, wanting to expand sort of their offering to different types of, being able to include staking rewards in yields for different types of assets. I think one thing that's exciting to me, and you'll probably see some more info on soon, is just this idea that you can use staking as kind of a base plate for more exotic strategies that involve DeFi. I think the best example of this today probably is Athena. But that type of structured product is, I think, pretty interesting and, unique about crypto, that you can sort of bake in the, crypto equivalent of the risk-free rate on a given asset to broader strategies in DeFi. And so it's definitely something we're looking very closely at. And there's a lot of different ways we could set that up with partners.
Yeah, on what Luke say was perfect, right? So we're starting to see staking as part of different strategies of generating yield. So staking in many of our clients' treasury management is seen has the same value or the same utility as a treasury bill in a portfolio management in any TradeFi company. So less risky, of course, less rewards, but it's our base strategy. So what we're seeing now, and we announced it today, a new product to generate yield just on stable coins.
So fresh from today. It's
fresh from today. It was announced today. Earlier, our co-founder sent an email and a repost on socials. But the idea is to have a stablecoin in, stablecoin out product with 15% a year of return, up to 15% a year of return. in association with OpenTrade, and is a 100% registered uh, product. It's not DeFi, so banks can have it, asset managers can have it. It's a pretty great product. It's 3-day liquidity.
It's
So you enter with USDC, connect, and in 3 days you can have your USDC out with 15% a year return, which is 3 times Treasury bill.
Yes.
So-
So it's pretty amazing for treasury
Yeah,
managers
it's
and.
a pretty great product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Congrats. And so, I mean, that's a good path to continue the discussion. Like, you launched that today. What other topics excite you or excite your team? Like, what are the protocols or new DeFi tools that you are looking at these days?
Yeah, happy to take this one. I think there are a couple of there's a number of networks going live here into the end of Q4 that have been a long time coming. Monad's a big one. Hyperliquid recently went live on, and I think thematically speaking, there's two really big categories that have been of particular interest to me. But there's just to kick it off, you have the exchange chains. So I think Hyperliquid, but there's a number of other chains coming out doing similar stuff. Fogo chain being an obvious one, Lighter, which is an L2. I think you'll see that model a lot more because it's really compelling to have sort of the app embedded into the L1 from like an ecosystem development perspective, and also just to attract liquidity. And I think the other very, very significant one is just privacy, right? I mean, you've seen over the past couple of months, one of the top performing assets in all of crypto has been Zcash. And I think that for a variety of reasons, people around the world are sort of remembering this fact that like one of the foundational components of like a permissionless financial system is being able to bring privacy to users everywhere. And so, yeah, obviously very relevant to you guys.
You, Stefano,
Yeah, couldn't say really better than Luke, right? So our team is super excited always to onboard new opportunities, and we have a little bit more of a conservative approach because our clients expect that from us. So we tend to be a lot more due diligence and vetting, and one of the things that excite us to associate with you guys is that you sing the same song, right? So we have pretty good confidence in you guys, and I think our excitement about the space is really, really big. There's a lot of new things coming in, but also there's a lot of things that are not usable coming in. So part of our process and what excites us the most is that we as a company and we as if our staking ecosystem, and let's say now even yield ecosystem, we have a machine, we have a structure to evaluate useful products, connect them with the right customers and right partners, and have a go-to-market strategy that is successful. So what excites me, and in a sense of a business developer, is that we have everything in place. If our project is useful and is meaningful for our clients, we are here to help get in front of them. So
I see. And I mean, what's the biggest challenge these days for you in terms of competition or something missing?
yeah, we're not only competing on the staking side, I mean, not even on the yield side. Our main competition and the field that we are playing is on the treasury management side. So I would say that everyone that's in this space is competing with us in some form. Of course, we have big names competing with us like Galaxy, P2P, that compete with us on the staking side. But we are also competing with a bunch of DeFi strategies on the yield side, and even with TradeFi on the treasury management side. So for us, comes down to understand what each one of our buyer groups, as we call, the banks react in some way, the ETFs providers react in another way, the DATs react in a different way. So for us, the competition is not directly a name, is more what types of idea, because the money is the same, right? So there's not millions and millions of dollars in all of those clients. They have to choose the one that is more risk adjusted for their strategy, and that's where we I think we are.
Okay, so we are directly competing with TradFi to.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's fun, yeah.
We are today. Crypto competes with TradFi in treasury management.
Yeah.
So the DATs are there to prove it's not just a micro strategy trying to become a beacon from concentrated Bitcoin. We're seeing most of those DATs starting to look for capital efficiency. So today, I mean, you had JP Morgan just saying that Bitcoin was a pet rock 1 year ago. And now the same bank is considering Bitcoin as collateral for loans. So what we're seeing actually in the treasury management side is that you're seeing our research for value that can optimize your operations, meaning that you can have cheaper credit. And crypto is starting to become something like that.
Yeah, totally agree. All right. Yeah, maybe it's time to take some questions if you have. Yeah, cause otherwise, like, what's your plan for this week? Do you have events where you want to invite people, or like what do you have cooking for this week?
Yeah, we are going to be around at DevCon. We're going to use a shirt, so stop us. We have all our security team here. So our from the C level to everyone, we have almost 10 people, I think. Most of them are from our security team here, just to because security has become such an important topic in most of the conversations that they see a value of being here. So I think we're the only team on the staking side and yield side that has more people here in Buenos Aires for security purposes
Then salespeople.
than from business development. So that's how important it is to us. And yeah, we're going to be around in many of those side events, Fireblock side events. I mean, if you see us, please stop us and we can have a great talk.
All right. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.